All right, let's dive into an explainer on a book well, it's less of a how-to guide and more of a survival manual. We're talking about The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And it kicks off with a line that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Ben Horowitz doesn't write for the faint of heart. See, his book isn't about celebrating success. Nope. It's a meditation on survival. This is way more than just a breakdown. It's a tribute to the emotional labor, the real grit, of building something that actually matters. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into the book's core philosophy. Then we'll jump right into the chaos of a company's origin. From there, we'll explore what leadership looks like under pressure, the CEO's inner war, the huge difference between peacetime and wartime, and finally, we'll get to the book's most powerful message, how to embrace the struggle. Okay, let's kick things off with part 1, a meditation on survival, where leadership is truly forged in fire. Through his incredibly candid storytelling and just plain hard-earned wisdom, he basically invites us right into the trenches of entrepreneurship. And this is a place where decisions are messy, emotions are running high, and where real leadership is put to the ultimate test. So where does a story of survival like this even begin? Well, it starts right in the middle of the chaos of the origin story, from the front lines. So Horowitz takes us on his journey through Netscape. He saw the rise and fall of internet giants firsthand, and then to co-founding Loudcloud. In these early chapters, they reveal a truth that honestly a lot of leaders try to avoid. Success so often begins with failure. The feeling here is just this raw vulnerability that's masked by sheer determination. And all that early chaos, it brings us to one of the most memorable, most quoted lines from the entire book. There are no silver bullets, only lead bullets. And that really is the core idea from this part of the journey. The founder's path isn't paved with clarity. No way. It's carved out through pure conviction. Okay, now we're getting to the heart of it all. Section 3, Leadership Under Pressure. This is where it gets real. And man, Horowitz does not sugarcoat the emotional toll of decisions like layoffs or restructuring or demotions. He says you have to do what's right for the company, even when it feels completely wrong for your soul. When things really start to fall apart, products fail, customers leave, morale just plummets, the CEO has to be the emotional shock absorber. So what's the framework for handling all this? Horowitz gives us a deceptively simple priority list. Take care of the people, then the products, and then the profits. And it has to be in that order. Why? Well, people build the products. Products drive the profits. The order matters a lot. But hey, managing people, products, and profits, that's one thing. What about managing yourself? And that brings us to the CEO's inner war, managing your own psychology. So this section asks a really crucial question. What is the single most difficult CEO skill? The answer? It's managing your own psychology. That is so much harder than managing any team. Look, self-doubt is inevitable. What really matters is how you respond to it. In that constant state of startup uncertainty, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to make the decisions anyway. Next up is one of the book's most iconic frameworks. You've probably heard of it. Peacetime versus wartime, the duality of leadership. Now, what's so fascinating here is the stark contrast. The peacetime CEO, they're focused on strategy, on expansion, on collaboration, but the wartime CEO, they operate with urgency, discipline, and a total intolerance for ambiguity. The crucial point, though, is that the great leaders know exactly when it's time to switch modes. And this brings us to what is really the emotional climax of the entire book, Section 6, Embrace the Struggle. In what is easily the most personal chapter, Horowitz just describes the loneliness, the fear, and the pure exhaustion of being a CEO. And then he completely reframes that whole experience with this powerful insight. The struggle is not a sign of failure, it's the path to greatness. Embrace the struggle, because it's where greatness is forged. So let's wrap all this up with a final reflection on what this is really all about. Leadership as emotional labor. Ben Horowitz doesn't offer you a playbook. What he offers is a mirror. His book is a companion for anyone who leads, not because it's glamorous, but because they believe in building something that really matters. It's a reminder that the hard thing about hard things is that they're hard. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to reflect on. And isn't that what makes them worth doing?